What if I told you that a 500-year-old political philosopher had already cracked the code to becoming mentally unbreakable? That the same principles used by history's most powerful leaders could transform you into the strongest version of yourself? Today we're diving into Niccolo Machiavelli's most ruthless teachings, but we're not talking about manipulating others. We're talking about mastering yourself. These 10 rules will fundamentally change how you approach challenges, setbacks, and success. But here's the thing. Most people can't handle these truths. They're too comfortable being weak. Are you ready to be different? Then stay until the end, because rule number 10 will completely shatter how you see personal power. Now, Niccolo Machiavelli wrote The Prince in 1513, and while it was meant for rulers, the psychological principles he outlined are pure gold for personal development. But here's what most people get wrong about Machiavelli. They think he was advocating for evil. He wasn't. He was advocating for effectiveness. He was showing us reality without the sugarcoating. Today we're taking his most powerful insights and applying them to the most important project you'll ever work on yourself. These aren't feel-good platitudes. These are hard truths that will make you mentally bulletproof. Rule 1. It is better to be feared than loved. Let me start with the most misunderstood rule. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved." Now, before you click away thinking I'm telling you to become a psychopath, hear me out. This isn't about being cruel to others. This is about being feared by your own weaknesses. Think about it this way. When you love something, you make excuses for it. When you fear something, you respect it. Your bad habits love you. They know you'll always come back to them. Your comfort zone loves you. It knows you'll never leave. But when your inner voice fears disappointing you, when your lazy self is genuinely afraid of the consequences you'll impose, that's when real change happens. I used to love my excuses. They were comfortable, familiar. But the day I started fearing my own disappointment more than I feared discomfort, that's when everything changed. Here's how you apply this. Create real consequences for yourself. Not punishments, consequences. Miss your workout? You donate $50 to a cause you hate. Skip your morning routine? No entertainment for the rest of the day. Make your weak self genuinely afraid of letting your strong self down. If you've ever created a consequence system that actually worked for you, drop it in the comments. Let's help each other build these systems. Rule 2, the ends justify the means. This one's controversial, so let me be crystal clear about what I mean. Machiavelli wasn't saying, do anything to get what you want. He was saying that sometimes the right outcome requires uncomfortable actions. Picture this. You want to lose weight, but your friend group always goes out for drinks and junk food. The nice thing to do is go along and cheat on your diet. The Machiavellian thing to do? You might seem mean for skipping the hangouts, but your end goal, being healthy, justifies the temporary social discomfort. Or consider this. You want to build a business, but that means saying no to parties, social events, and immediate gratification for months or years. Others might call you obsessed or antisocial, but your end goal justifies these ruthless choices. The strongest version of yourself sometimes requires you to be the bad guy in other people's stories. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. Here's your action step. Identify one area where you've been too nice to yourself or others at the expense of your goals. What would the strongest version of you do? That's your answer. But wait, because rule number 7 is going to completely flip this concept on its head. You'll see what I mean when we get there. Rule 3, prepare for war in times of peace. Machiavelli observed that the strongest leaders never got comfortable during good times. They used peace to prepare for the inevitable challenges ahead. This is about building resilience before you need it. It's about developing mental toughness when life is easy. I learned this lesson the hard way. A few years ago, everything was going perfectly. Business was good, relationships were solid, health was great, so I got lazy. I stopped working out as hard, stopped reading, stopped pushing myself. Then life hit me with a series of curveballs, financial setbacks, family issues, health scares. And because I hadn't been training for war, I was completely unprepared. Here's what most people don't understand. Your brain is constantly adapting to your current level of challenge. When you coast, your resilience muscles atrophy. When you consistently challenge yourself, they grow stronger. So how do you prepare for war in times of peace? First, voluntary discomfort. Take cold showers. Do difficult workouts. Practice fasting. Wake up early even when you don't have to. You're training your mind to handle discomfort. Second, skill stacking. Learn new skills before you need them. Public speaking, financial literacy, basic maintenance skills. These become weapons in your arsenal. Third, build your support network before you need it. Strong relationships are your greatest asset during tough times. Here's your challenge. Pick one form of voluntary discomfort and commit to it for the next 30 days. Cold showers, early morning workouts, intermittent fasting, something that builds mental toughness. Comment below with your choice. Let's see who's really serious about this. Rule 4, know your enemies. Machiavelli emphasized that you must study your enemies more carefully than your friends. But your biggest enemies aren't other people. They're parts of yourself. Your enemies are procrastination, self-doubt, comfort-seeking, instant gratification, and fear. Most people ignore these enemies or pretend they don't exist. That's why most people stay weak. Sun Tzu said, "Know your enemy and know yourself." Machiavelli took this further. He said you must understand your enemy's patterns, motivations, and weaknesses better than they understand themselves. Let's do this right now. I want you to identify your top 3 internal enemies. For most people, it's something like 1. The voice that says, "Start tomorrow." 2. The feeling that seeks immediate comfort over long-term gain. 3. The fear of what others will think. Now, here's the Machiavellian approach. Study. These enemies like a general studies opposing forces. When does procrastination attack? Usually when tasks feel overwhelming or unclear. How do you defeat it? Break tasks into micro steps so small they feel ridiculous not to do. When does comfort-seeking strike? Usually when you're tired, stressed, or bored. How do you counter it? Create environments where the easy choice is the right choice. When does fear of judgment appear? Usually when you're about to do something that matters. How do you overcome it? Remember that those who judge you aren't living your life. But here's the real insight. Your enemies reveal your superpowers. The fact that you struggle with procrastination means you have the capacity for massive action. The fact that you seek comfort means you have the ability to push through discomfort. Your weaknesses are inverted strengths. In the comments, tell me, what's your biggest internal enemy? And what's one strategy you're going to use to defeat it this week? Rule 5, strike first, strike hard. Machiavelli believed in taking decisive action before problems became unmanageable. In personal development, this translates to attacking your problems before they attack you. Most people wait until they feel ready or until circumstances are perfect. But here's the brutal truth. You'll never feel ready, and circumstances will never be perfect. Let's say you know you need to have a difficult conversation with someone. The weak approach is to wait, hope it resolves itself, or let anxiety build up. The Machiavellian approach? Strike first. Have the conversation today on your terms when you're prepared, or consider your health. You know that ache in your back isn't normal. The weak approach is to ignore it until it becomes a serious problem. The strong approach? Strike first. See a doctor, start physical therapy, address it while it's manageable. Here's why this works. Action creates momentum, and momentum creates confidence. When you strike first, you're operating from a position of strength, not desperation. I have a personal rule. If I identify a problem that will only get worse with time, I address it within 24 hours. No exceptions. This has saved me countless headaches and kept small issues from becoming major crises. In business, if I notice a client relationship getting strained, I don't wait for them to complain. I reach out immediately, address their concerns, and often turn a potential problem into a stronger relationship. Right now, think of one problem in your life that you've been avoiding. Maybe it's a difficult conversation, a health issue, a financial problem, or a skill you need to develop. The Machiavellian approach is simple. Strike first. Address it today. Don't give it time to grow stronger while you grow weaker. Comment below with one word describing the problem. You're going to strike first on this week. Let's create some accountability here. Rule 6, adapt or die. Machiavelli observed that successful leaders were like foxes and lions. They adapted their approach based on the situation. Foxes use cunning, lions use force, and the strongest people know when to be which. Most people have one way of doing things, and when that way stops working, they're stuck. But the strongest version of yourself is infinitely adaptable. Take your career. Maybe you built your success on being the hardest worker in the room. But what happens when hard work alone isn't enough? What happens when you need to network, negotiate, or lead instead of just execute? The weak person keeps trying the same approach and wonders why they're stuck. The strong person adapts, or relationships. Maybe you've always been the nice guy or nice girl, and thinking that being agreeable would make people like you. But sometimes relationships require boundaries, difficult conversations, and saying no. Here's how to build adaptability. First, regularly audit what's working and what isn't. Monthly reviews of your strategies, approaches, and results. Second, develop multiple skills in every area of life. Don't just be good at one thing, be competent at many. Third, study how successful people in your field operate differently. What approaches are you not using? But here's the uncomfortable truth about adaptation. It requires you to kill parts of your old self, the identity you've built around being the hard worker or the people pleaser might need to die for the stronger version to emerge. This is why most people don't adapt. They're too attached to their current identity. The strongest version of yourself isn't attached to any single approach or identity. You're attached to results, growth, and effectiveness. Everything else is negotiable. Think about one area of your life where your current approach isn't working. What would adaptation look like? What new skill or mindset would the strongest version of you develop? But adaptation is just the beginning, because rule number 7 is going to show you how to turn your biggest weaknesses into weapons. And rule number 10, that's the one that separates the truly strong from everyone else. Think about one area of your life where your current approach isn't working. What would adaptation look like? What new skill or mindset would the strongest version of you develop? But adaptation is just the beginning, because rule number 7 is going to show you how to turn your biggest weaknesses into weapons. And rule number 10, that's the one that separates the truly strong from everyone else. Rule 7, use your enemy's strength against them. Remember how I said rule 7 would flip everything? Here it is. Machiavelli taught that the best way to defeat an enemy is to redirect their own power against them. Your internal enemies, procrastination, fear, perfectionism, they all have strengths that you can redirect. Take procrastination. Its strength is that it seeks ease and avoids discomfort. So instead of fighting this tendency, redirect it. Make the right choices easier than the wrong ones. Want to eat healthy? Make junk food harder to access and healthy food easier. Want to exercise? Sleep in your workout clothes and put your gym bag by the door. Or take fear. Fear's strength is that it's trying to protect you. But instead of running from fear, use it as a compass. What you're most afraid of often points to what you most need to do. Afraid of public speaking? That probably means it's exactly the skill that would transform your career. Afraid of starting that business? That fear is telling you how much it matters to you. Here's my favorite example. Perfectionism. Perfectionism's strength is its high standards. But perfectionism keeps you from starting because nothing's ever good enough. So redirect that strength. Set a new standard. Perfect execution of imperfect plans. Use perfectionism's high standards to demand that you take action, even if that action is imperfect. The meta principle here is this. Every weakness contains the seed of a strength. Every enemy has a power you can harness. I used to be terrible at saying no to people. I thought this was pure weakness. But then I realized my desire to help others was actually a superpower. I just needed to redirect it. Instead of saying yes to everything, I became selective about who I helped and how. This made my help more valuable and my time more respected. Your assignment: pick one of your biggest weaknesses and ask yourself, how is this weakness actually a strength in disguise? How can you redirect its power instead of fighting it? This concept connects directly to rule number 9, which might be the most practical rule we'll cover today. Rule 8, fortune favors the bold. Machiavelli wrote, fortune is like a river. When it is calm, you can build dikes and channels to direct it. But when it floods, it sweeps everything away. The strongest people understand timing. They take bold action during calm periods to prepare for the storms. And they take even bolder action during storms to reshape their reality. Here's what weak people do. They play it safe when times are good, and they panic when times are bad. They waste their opportunities and crumble under pressure. Bold action looks like this. Starting a side business when your job is secure, not when you're desperate. Having difficult conversations when relationships are stable, not when they're falling apart. Investing in yourself when money is flowing, not when you're broke. Building skills when you don't need them, not when you're scrambling. Here's the paradox. Bold action feels riskiest when it's actually safest. And safe action feels safest when it's actually riskiest. I remember when I first started this channel, I had a stable income, comfortable life, no real pressure to take risks. That's exactly when I decided to go all in on content creation. Everyone thought I was crazy to risk my stability, but that stability was exactly what gave me the foundation to be bold. If I had waited until I was desperate, I would have been operating from weakness, not strength. Fortune favors the bold, but only when boldness is backed by preparation. Random recklessness isn't boldness, it's stupidity. True boldness is calculated risk-taking. It's being willing to bet on yourself. When you've done the work to stack, the odds in your favor. What's one bold move you've been considering, but haven't made because it feels too risky? What would need to be true for that move to feel calculated rather than reckless? This connects perfectly to our next rule, because the strongest people don't just take bold action, they make bold action inevitable. Rule 9, create your own luck. Machiavelli distinguished between two types of fortune, that which is beyond our control and that which we can influence through our actions. Most people believe in luck because it absolves them of responsibility. I'm unlucky in love. I'm unlucky in business. I'm unlucky with money. But here's what I've observed after studying thousands of successful people. Lucky people create more opportunities for luck to occur. Lucky people put themselves in situations where good things can happen. Develop skills that make them valuable when opportunities arise. Build relationships that create access to hidden opportunities. Persist longer than unlucky people, increasing their chances of success. Want to get lucky in your career? Go to industry events, connect with people online, develop in-demand skills, and say yes to projects that stretch your capabilities. Want to get lucky in relationships? Improve yourself first, put yourself in social situations, be genuinely interested in others, and become the kind of person others want to be around. Want to get lucky with money? Learn about investing. Develop multiple income streams, live below your means, and position yourself to take advantage of opportunities when they arise. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. But here's what that really means. You have to prepare for opportunities you can't even imagine yet. 5 years ago, I started commenting thoughtfully on other creators' content. Not to get anything from them, just to add value to conversations. That investment in relationships has led to collaborations, opportunities, and friendships I never could have predicted. I wasn't trying to get lucky. I was creating conditions where luck could find me. Your luck strategy should have 3 components. 1, skills that make you valuable in any situation. 2, relationships that expand your access to opportunities. 3, positioning that puts you where good things happen. Pick one area where you want to get luckier and identify one action you can take this week to create better conditions for luck to occur. Rule 10. Never show all your cards. This might be the most important rule for the modern world, where everyone overshares everything. Social media has trained us to broadcast our every thought, plan, and achievement. But Machiavelli understood that mystery and restraint are sources of power. When you show all your cards, you lose negotiating power, you invite unnecessary criticism, and you rob yourself of the psychological benefits of private victories. Research shows that when you announce your goals publicly, your brain gets a premature sense of accomplishment. You feel good about the announcement, which reduces your motivation to actually achieve the goal. Strategic silence means working on projects before announcing them, keeping your next moves private until they're inevitable, letting your results speak louder than your intentions, maintaining some mystery about your capabilities and plans. I spent 6 months building a course before I ever mentioned it publicly. By the time I announced it, it was 90% complete. This gave me confidence, protected me from criticism during the vulnerable creation phase, and made the announcement much more powerful. There's something deeply confidence-building about having secret projects, hidden skills, or private victories. It creates an inner security that can't be shaken by external opinions. The exception to this rule? Accountability partnerships. Having 1 or 2 trusted people who know your real goals and hold you accountable is different from broadcasting to the world. In the age of social media, this rule is your competitive advantage. While everyone else is performing their lives online, you're actually building yours offline. What's one goal or project you could work on privately for the next 90 days? Something meaningful that you don't tell anyone about until it's done. But keeping secrets is just part of the game. The next rule shows you how to turn information itself into a weapon.